Are you ready for a fast-paced, entertaining show with amateur analysis and original opinion? We're here for that. I'm Nate Chambers, alongside the long-bedraggled Knicks fan, J.C. Morgenstern. And this is the brand new sports show, Toss-Up! It was an exciting month of July for the U.S. men's national team, as they played and won their conference's Nations League tournament, a pretty big deal. But then they lost in the semifinals in the Gold Cup, which is like the World Cup but only for teams from North and Central America. In the Women's World Cup, Spain won the tournament and then promptly fired their head coach. England got runner-up, and the United States women's national team lost to Sweden in the round of 16, their worst ever finish. The host, Australia, got fourth. Messi came to the United States and instantly dominated his way to a Leagues Cup win, beating Nashville SC 1-1 in the final. And although 1-1 is a draw, they beat Nashville SC 10-9 on penalties. He currently has Inter Miami, a team that's been in last in the MLS for most of the year, chasing down the pack on its way to the MLS playoffs. They need 8 points in 9 games to do so, but right now, they gotta be feeling pretty confident. Moving on to your favorite sport, baseball. Today we're going to talk about the most exciting player in baseball.
Julio Rodriguez. James McCann.
No.
Phil Bickford.
Definitely not.
Then Mr. Matt. I've lost.
No, Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, that one makes sense.
Does he still deserve $70 million even after his UCL injury?
Honestly, I don't think so, but I'm not the $3 billion owner willing to dish out the dough. To me, he won't be able to return to the absolutely phenomenal career that he's had prior to. He'll probably just be a shadow of himself. He might have a few good games, but I think the arm will just be an inevitable spot for him, and he'll just have to keep coming back with injuries. But, like I said, someone out there might be willing to spend the $70 million that you're talking about.
Let's look at the AL West real quick, as Seattle, Houston, and Texas are all within half a game of each other. By far the closest race we've seen this late in the season for years. It's going to be an absolute battle to see who wins that division crown.
Now, in my eyes, an even larger battle right now is going to be the NL Central. Rather than it being a divisional battle, it's currently also a wild card battle. All three of these teams could possibly make the wild card, and the Brewers and the Cubs are currently in a dead heat, especially considering the last series of the season for both teams is they are pitted against each other at American Family Field in Milwaukee.
So, who will grab the 3 wild card spots?
To me, I think the Cubs will somehow be able to eke out the NL Central. So for me, I think in the first spot it'll be the Phillies, then second the Brewers, and third the Giants. Now, if somehow the Brewers do end up winning that division, I do believe that the Cubs will take their spot.
It's been a topsy-turvy year in baseball. The Baltimore Orioles, who have been cellar dwellers for the past 10 years, are the best team currently in the AL. The Yankees are in last place in their division. They haven't finished last since 1990s, or early 1990s. And the New York Mets, highest payroll of any team. They've been bad. Any thoughts on their season? Finally, we have week 1 of the college football season. We had 4 notable games. First off, Colorado took on a very high-ranked school in TCU who made the national championship game last year, and Shedder Sanders and Travis Hunter demolished them, almost single-handedly, just between those two. Travis Hunter played both ways, and Shedder Sanders looked like a Heisman quarterback, as they went on to upset TCU. Next up, we have Baylor and the Texas State Bobcats. Texas State, despite being a heavy underdog, demolished Baylor on both sides of the ball. Even though Baylor's quarterback got injured, I don't think it was going to matter. And maybe the most notable result of the weekend was Clemson at Duke. Clemson had many chances to prove to us why they were a preseason top 10 ranked team, and they just never did it. Duke was clearly the better team Monday night as they rolled Clemson.
Florida State absolutely ran over the Tigers only in the last 17 minutes of the game. Before that, it was neck and neck, and then Florida State ran over them for a final score of 45-24, and now a possible college football playoff run for the Seminoles. And Brian Kelly, I'm not really sure what's going through his head right now, but all I can tell you is he's probably not in contention for the SEC.
Let's touch on probably the biggest story of the summer, which was college football realignment among the major conferences. And the conference that got ravaged was the Pac-12, who was completely collapsed into the Pac-2. Only Oregon State and Washington State remain in the conference. Now, the Cougars and the Beavers can potentially pull a fast one on the rest of college football. See, the CFB Board of Governors says that to be a conference, you have to have 8 teams, but you have a 2-year grace period to do so. So if they could just scrape a couple more teams and keep the Pac-12 branding, they'd still be a power conference, and they would get to have the winner of that conference would keep an automatic bid to the now new 12-team college football playoff starting next year. So that could be a scenario to see Oregon State and Washington State. Gotta keep that in mind. That's all for this month on Toss-Up. Join us next month as we discuss all that has happened in the NFL, college football, and the MLB.